from Castle Goring, from Nikki, Aurora, and from me. Well, isn't life eventful? And hasn't Harry been clever? Because Harry has gone out of his way, doubtless following Meghan's road plan, to not only take full advantage of the death of his grandmother and the significance of the occasion in royal terms, but he is also here to coincide. Now, I'm going to get to that in a moment, but first of all, I'm going to read out what Sargie Miller says. I believe the DNA issue is the reason why Harry and Meghan keep the children hidden from public and the royal family. All it would take is one little hair to test their DNA, and the possibility of their lies would be exposed. If, of course, they were lying. I need to interject that for legal reasons, because let's not forget, I'm attached to my money and I intend to remain attached to it. The irony is, Harry and Meghan don't really need to fear, because in this country it is illegal to harvest DNA and get results and use them. And even if there was something to hide, and even if the secret should be proven, unless you could actually use the proof that you had harvested, I'm afraid you would have reaped no dividend. So, evidently though, that is a worry to some people, and I'm not going to specify to whom. Because remember, my money and I, very closely connected, and we intend to remain it. But that would not be the reason why they are keeping the children from public view. There are other reasons. Harry doesn't want the children being shown around. That's number one. Number two, Meghan doesn't want the competition. Remember the old adage from Hollywood in its golden days? Never, ever appear in a movie with an animal or a child. It's gonna steal your thunder. So, Meghan doesn't like her thunder being stolen. But the DNA issue is not the decisive issue that you might think it is, and that certain people fear it could be, because it doesn't matter whose DNA is shipped by DHL. If DHL makes the delivery instead of Mother Nature, I'm afraid the package isn't going to be received. Well, if it's received, they're going to have to pay an awful lot of customs duty on it. And it's going to be well known to have not been, shall we say, naturally delivered. But we're going to get on to rather more, shall we say, topical or, the fact of the matter is the DNA issue and how those children came into being is really the overriding topic. And the overriding topic that Harry and Meghan deflect attention away from. But since it's an ongoing issue, let's go to something that's more, shall we say, contemporary? Because I think that's one that's going to play and play and play, at least for a while. Muddy Paws says, Harry visited her grave today. Ugh! Course reported on, rather than in private. I don't know if you noticed, but Harry arrived in London yesterday. He was taken from the airport. He was picked up at Heathrow, and he was greeted by a royal protection officer. Harry is benefiting from the full 9 yards of security, royal protection. He gave notice. He gave the 28 days notice. He is benefiting from having given the notice, and for the duration of his visit, he is having full royal security. But I don't know if you noticed, I certainly did. Harry didn't wear a black tie. William, who attended with Catherine an event at Sunningdale for the Women's Institute. William was going to go on his own and Catherine went with him. They were in mourning. Now remember, court mourning is actually in existence now until the Duchess of Kent is buried. Harry, no mourning suit, no mourning tie, no mourning anything. I make that point for what it's worth, to show you how entirely out of the loop Harry really is, and how totally he doesn't play by the same rules, he doesn't abide by the same conventions, he's not restricted by the same protocols, he's doing as he pleases, and the Margaret Thatcher victory sign to everybody. Well, he showed up, taken straight from the airport to Windsor Castle, where he privately paid his very public respects. Now, how does that one work? You're paying your respects privately, but you're making sure everybody knows about it. Oh dear, does that mean that you like publicity? Oh, does it mean that your PR people have leaked it against your knowledge, which they certainly haven't, incidentally? So he goes to the King George VI Memorial Chapel, which is a small annex attached to St. George's Chapel, where the late Queen, Prince Philip, King George VI, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, and Princess Margaret are all interred. He took a wreath and he paid his respects, and he made sure everybody knew about it. He made sure everybody knew that his private visit was so private that it went as private as the state of William's manhood and his blue todger. Oh, isn't he just a clever boy? His definition of privacy, I have to say, is definitely one that I would have called warped. But He then went from there and he went and greeted, very buzzily, incidentally, the WellChild people. And buzz, buzz, buzz. And at this point, I am going to cease speaking about his activities today and give you what his program is going to be. Because yesterday was WellChild, and of course, the very private visit that nobody was to know about, but somehow they managed to leak it like the sieve. Today he is in Nottingham, visiting the community recording studio, and he is going to make a substantial donation. Now, what does the word substantial mean? Is it going to be $1,000 or is it going to be $50? Or are we never going to know what it is? Anyway, he's going to make a substantial donation out of the 5% of the accumulated funds, doubtless from Archewell, because remember, the other 95% goes on expenses or investments. So he's going to make a donation, and they have made sure, they've told us it's a substantial donation to children in need, because he's going to be supporting it, and it's actually a good organization, tackling violence as it impacts upon young people. Then on tomorrow and on Thursday, he has other engagements with charities that he is involved with, including the Invictus Games and the Diana Awards. Harry is here to save his bacon. That's the reality. I don't care how you dress it up. Harry is here to save his bacon. He knows that he is skating on very thin ice with Invictus. Remember what Edward Fortescue said? And he's just one of many. I've been saying for some time now that a lot of people at Invictus want to get rid of Harry, in much the same way that I have been saying for much of this year that Netflix was looking to find a way of winding Harry and Meghan down to such an extent that it really wouldn't cost them anything, but that they would find a way of hopefully keeping Meghan and Harry tied in, which is precisely what has happened. Harry has lost Sentebale. He said he was going to start a new charity. That would be a fatal error, because it would show that it was only ever a vanity exercise, and it would help to destroy Sentebale, which will most likely destroy itself under the weight of what has happened in any event. Then there's, of course, the African parks. Let's not forget African parks. Harry's philanthropy, as he would, and Meghan would like to put it, is in considerable disarray. Travelist, which is not philanthropic, but is presented as being, is also with a huge question mark over it. What does Harry have left? Invictus, the WellChild Awards, and the Diana Awards. That's what he has left. Very slim pickings, especially when there is a huge movement within Invictus, desperate to divest themselves of the Harry connection. He is now regarded as so toxic that nobody wants an association with him, I am told. I am hearing that there's an awful lot of fear surrounding any association with Harry. A lot of people are terrified that any involvement with Harry is going to end up causing them huge problems. And I am also told that there is a visceral hatred regarding Harry and Meghan in certain quarters. I don't want to say exactly whom, but there are people who absolutely hate Harry and Meghan now. And I don't think it takes much imagination to figure out that some of them may be very close to home. Let's leave it at that. Let me see if there is anything else that I need to cover on this. Aside from the errant hypocrisy, I don't think there is. Do you? So let us hear what Patsy T has to say. Lady C, I agree with everything you said on Mark Dolan today. Could you elaborate more on how Harry and Meghan are taking aim at the King and Prince William? Well, I appeared on the Mark Dolan show yesterday, and I spoke for a little while on the Harry situation. I was asked about it, and I spoke about it. And I will elaborate. Harry and Meghan, I am informed, are absolutely desperate, not only financially and professionally, but personally desperate. She and he have a loathing of William that is evidently frightening. He used to love Catherine. I gather he doesn't anymore. I wonder why. They also have a huge bee in their bonnet, and I'm being very decorous in how I put this, where Camilla is concerned, and also where Charles is concerned. Harry has adopted Meghan's belief in much the same way that the Duchess of Windsor overestimated the power and the importance and the possibilities of King Edward VIII. Meghan has overestimated the importance of Harry. Harry has purposely fed this. But Harry, in his BBC interview, made it absolutely clear that he does not feel constrained by the laws of this country. And let's remember, he's the one who said Meghan's capable of anything. Meghan is a driving force behind an awful lot of this, shall we say, dynamic, where they feel the rules don't apply to them, and not only can they do anything they want, but everybody should do what they want, irrespective of whether everybody agrees with it or not. And Harry made it very clear in the BBC interview that he believed that his father could snap his fingers and get his security restored, his IPP status. Harry refuses to accept the fact, and I suspect that a part of this is due. Let me finish. Harry refuses to accept the fact that he is not all powerful because he has from the very outset led Meghan to believe that he was more potent than he is. Well, we know he's definitely potent in certain departments, but no matter how you cut it, there's no way he's going to be able to screw the king into the dashboard. It's just not going to happen. Not only because Harry has overestimated to Meghan, and presumably by now she's fed it back to him, and so they are both living in a folie de grandeur and a folie de way where I'm so big and powerful, and Pa can do whatever he wants. Doria, bring some more weed. Pa can do what he wants, and Pa can do what I want. So he is truly of the belief that if his father wishes, he can click his fingers and get Harry's security restored. Well, the irony is that there is no way that Charles will click his fingers and get Harry's security restored, because Charles is not prepared to jeopardize his throne and his good relations with the authorities by allowing Harry and Meghan to override the checks and balances that are in place in this country insofar as the limits of power upon the monarchy are concerned. We had a civil war about this, 1642 to 1649. We had a Lord Protectorate, 1649 to 1660. We had a restoration of the monarchy, at which point the monarch agreed that he or she would function within the law and would, wherever necessary, defer to Parliament, but would, on the other hand, be able to caution the elected advisors and the politicians who were in power. This is how things work in this country. They've been working like this since 1660 very effectively. Harry would like to overturn the whole thing. And my information is that Harry and Meghan are basically very dictatorial, very totalitarian in their views, very authoritative, and very, well, dictatorial is really the word. And that they would like to be able to ride roughshod over everyone and everything. And since it's not happening in that they're not being able to press the King's buttons and William's buttons and Camilla's buttons and Catherine's buttons and get the desired effect. Oh, they do get an effect. They know they get an effect because they know that the four parties just mentioned view them with horror and anathema at this point. But that doesn't mean that when they press the button, they're going to get the desired result, which they haven't been getting, incidentally. But they are evidently determined to cause as much riot and trouble and problems for William and Catherine and the King and Camilla as possible. And they are there planting seeds all about the very fertile soil, in part using the media. In part, but not only using the media. Meghan is an extremely conniving individual. She finds it impossible to be natural and to be spontaneous. Oh, she's very much, but She may be impulsive in some ways, but she is very, very, somebody told me she is sociopathically contained. And she is so conniving that she has sets up situations, and she has set up situations. I know this as a fact because when I was writing my book, Meghan and Harry, The Real Story, right after her father gave an interview to, I think it was ITV, I received a telephone call from someone. It's in the last few pages of my book. From someone telling me that Harry wanted me to know on behalf of Meghan that the reason why she could not reconcile with her father was because he used to interfere, was the word they used, with her. And I knew that was a lie. And I have checked it out with Thomas Markle Sr. And I also didn't even need to check it out with Thomas Markle Sr. I knew it was a lie because of her performance for the previous 36 years. Unbelievable. But it shows you the ability, if, of course, what the person who said they were an emissary of Harry's, and I have no doubt that they were, was speaking was the truth. And I have no doubt that it was. I absolutely believe that it was exactly what I was told it was. And it told me that Harry might have believed it, but I certainly didn't believe it, and I couldn't believe it because her performance for 36 years contradicted everything. But it also told me that this is a woman who will stop at nothing and leave no stone unturned to achieve her objectives, which in that instance was to further denigrate her father and isolate him and cause the world to have less respect for him than it should have. And let's remember, she had already set him up with that letter to People magazine that she wrote to her father at the behest of the late Queen and the Prince of Wales to mend fences. And by her own account, she not only wrote it to her father, but made sure it would destroy the relationship between her father and herself. You see the double dealing? And there is an awful lot going on at the moment where Meghan and Harry and their people are behind the scenes trying to create trouble and set up situations and turn Peter against Paul, Charles against William, William against Charles. I have been told that Meghan would love to have been queen, and I have to say her behaviour leads me to question whether she seriously doesn't understand that, save for that one plane crash that stands between please let it happen and her and the throne, there is no way she's going to be queen. But all of this machinations, calculations, maneuverings, manipulations, hugely destructive. But the royal family knows what it's dealing with. If I could repeat some of the things I have been told that would convey the reality of certain people's opinions of Meghan Markle, and to a lesser extent of Harry, because Harry has polluted his pond, having fouled it through his own actions. Harry's stating that he wants to bring his children back to England is a joke. Meghan and Harry don't want to bring those children back to England. Of course, they may be paving the ground for the fact that they may have to return or at least flee from Montecito. Oh, creditors, please leave me alone. Please, please. House going for sale belonged to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Bought for 14 million, selling for a bargain $89,999,099 because it belongs to royalty. There's so much of this is literally crazy. I cannot tell you. Harry and Meghan have dug a huge hole for themselves, and they are trying to dig holes for William, Catherine, Charles, and Camilla. And if you think that Harry and Meghan want to kiss and make up with the king, I can tell you something. It is the kiss of death. That's what it is. I have no doubt that Harry would really actually basically like, now that he's got things off his chest and he's made the world know what a victim he was, that he was so unfortunate that he was only the spare, he wasn't the heir, and what a tough life he's had because he didn't get the bigger bedroom. He didn't even get the bigger todger, according to somebody who knows. Can you believe it? Even nature deprived him. I mean, isn't that just terrible of nature? Oh, nature's so wicked. Oh. However, he certainly didn't get the bigger brain, and I'm referring to the one up here, not the one that Harry has elsewhere. The degree of malice that he and Meghan have, and he never used to have it. He was troubled, he was disaffected, he was envious, but it was all containable. It was all really normal, maybe not desirable, but sibling rivalry is pretty normal. Some people are more healthy than others. Some people are more generous-spirited than others. Some people have more to be envious of others than others. And certainly Harry has a lot more to be envious of William than William has to be envious of Harry, not the least of which was his wife, because Harry wanted a wife like Catherine. Look at what he managed to acquire. But they are trying to lay the ground to cause maximum harm and damage under the guise of trying to pretend to the contrary. But at the same time, contradictorily, Harry also understands that he needs to revitalize his royal status. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to make any money at all. And as it is, it looks as if they're not going to be making any money in any event. So some of Harry's philanthropy is very much Netflix directed, as I have been saying for the last year, that Harry and Meghan were informed that they needed to separate professionally, and they have done it. Let us see what happens. I think I've said enough for today. Let us see what happens. Hopefully, I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for this. Please remember to keep the questions and comments coming in so I will know what you would like us to be speaking about. Okay? Thank you. Take good care and Godspeed. And if you have truly enjoyed this, would you care to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and a bientôt. Bye bye.